Thank you for joining us this morning. We shall now get the show on the road. The state of the nation has been worrisome, and that has been over a few years now. And some have called for restructuring. Some are saying that a breakup of Nigeria is the best thing. All kinds of things have been cropping up. But which way Nigeria?
That's Sonny Okoson's right there.
Right. So we have a panel of three. Two of them are with us here in our studios in Lagos. It's my pleasure to welcome Oscar Osai, Bishop, the City of Refuge Ministries. Morning.
Good morning.
As well as, Pastor Laddie Thompson, who is a security consultant.
Pleasure is always mine.
Morning. Thank you for joining us.
Would that even be the Security Church of Nigeria?
I didn't hear anything. And we shall also be joined by the former APC chairman in Taraba State, Ambassador Hassan Ado Toko. But let's get the show started in Lagos. We have two people in Lagos, and we shall go on with them. Let me begin with you, Bishop. There have been all kinds of calls. Restructure, let's break up, we want this republic, we want that republic. We're looking at how to build a just Nigeria where no one feels cheated. Where do you think that journey should start from?
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. The first thing is, what does these agitations imply? What does it show? It's a reflection of dissatisfaction with something. So if you ask me what I think we should start from defining those dissatisfactions. Leadership need to find out, why are there so many agitations? What is driving these agitations? I'm therefore implying that where we should start from is the definition of terms. We have sociologists, we have anthropologists, we have political scientists. We have so many of them in all the universities and in all the spheres of governance. Have they gone into a critical research into what is driving these agitations? There must be a reason. People are not crazy. There must be something that they are worried about. What is it? I think that leadership has been unable to define the problem. A problem well defined is a problem more than 50% solved. That's my view.
But what do you think is driving such agitations?
We are looking for a just society. We are looking for egalitarianism. We are looking for a place where I can pursue my definition of joy and satisfaction and ambition in a setting where there is rule of law. Now, do we have that? If we don't have that, why don't we have it? I think it's expecting too much to beat somebody, for instance, and think that the person shouldn't cry.
Or tell the person not to.
Or tell the person not to cry.
But we do that to our children.
Well, is it fair?
No, we don't tell them not to cry.
You beat the guy and say, friend, is that what you see, Mr. Pastor Thompson?
Well, I think he has laid a very good foundation. And the only thing I think I can add to that is that we must not be surprised that there are calls for these breakups. And like he said, we just need to look at the root cause. Yes. Now, I will speak clearly that they should have been expected. We're a nation at war. It's a new kind of war. It's terrorism, the clinical use of terror. Now, all men everywhere are motivated by two things, pleasure and pain. The dread of pain and the anticipation of pleasure. When you get to a point where the trickles of blood have become torrents floods of blood. You see, the instinctive reaction of the average person, you see, because what terror does to you is that it breaks your spirit, it shuts down your initiative, you are not thinking clearly, you become instinctive. So the first thing that people normally do when they face this kind of threat is their memory goes back to the last time they were safe. And then people look for the future in the past, instinctively. Now, I must tell you that the people who are behind the war against terror in Nigeria expect this. It's an anticipated move. They know that the call for IPOB would increase, the ESN, the call for Odua Republic, and all that. They already know this. They've anticipated it. And frankly speaking, if we in the country, and I speak from a bipartisan perspective now, we can't afford divisions anymore in this country. If we say with everything going on in this country, we did not expect this cause, there must be something wrong with us. So, are the cause justified? There's too much bloodshed around. The value of human worth is going down. Media has been used as a force multiplier. The terror is gripping the hearts of people all over the country. So why wouldn't people naturally
agitate,
want to go back to what they believe is a safe path?
But, you know, Pastor Thompson, this agitation is not new. If I remember vaguely, it dates back many decades in this country. Can you trace how far back we have come and what ignited it in the first place?
Let me just quickly borrow from Obafemi Awolowo to answer you. This is very simple. Yes, the whispers have always been a part of Nigerian history. I think Awolowo in 1968 mentioned something. Obafemi Awolowo did say that, that the joys and the progress of Nigeria is indivisible. So also our tragedies and our misfortunes. And then he went on to say that it is imperative that there are two things that have to be done immediately. Number one, he said, we need to look at the fact that there's a disintegration going on in the country. We inherited it.
As far back as 1968.
He made that comment. He said, we need to halt it and unite Nigeria. Then on the second level, he said something equally important. And he used the word recrudescent. He said there are internecine hostilities. There are cracks, cultural cracks, religious cracks, you name it. And they keep recurring. And he said we need to go after these things and make sure that we put a stop to these recrudescent hostilities. So if he said that in 1968, and you want to remember that he also made another comment, a statesman made a comment that nobody will argue that the country we inherited was actually created by the British. And that when we inherited the country, we inherited it with the forces of its own disintegration within it. And said there are three things we need to do. We need to halt, neutralize those forces of disintegration. We need to define and protect the Nigerian heritage. And then the third thing I think was make life meaningful, protect people and give them a hope for tomorrow.
But if I can just quickly, you know, get some clarity.
Yes.
The Civil War, Nigerian Civil War began in 1967.
Yes.
And he made these comments that you're talking about in 1968.
Yes.
Could it be because we were already kind of, the unity was being threatened at the time?
Well, he had already made this statement also, similar statement in 1964, the second one I made. We inherited these cracks, but there have always been whispers. We survived the Civil War, and let me use this opportunity to clarify something. There are some generations going around crowing that because they fought a Civil War, therefore maybe it gives them a right to speak about Nigeria's future. I think we should also again listen to what Obafemi Awolowo said about that. Just after the Civil War, he said, well, we're trying to recreate a new nation. We need to keep it in mind as a cardinal point that yes, we had patriotic principles for which we fought to keep the country together. But he said whether you articulate it in your brain or not, you had better realize that the primary reason we did it goes beyond patriotism. It's economic, it has to do with security, it has to do with an assurance of a future. And so
all of which are shaking.
Nobody who should be talking about, you know, Gawan said something good. To keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. But Awolowo was now clarifying with his own clarity of thought that yes, but the primary reason we are keeping Nigeria one is for a better life for all of us.
Not just for the political permutation of it. I suspect you wanted to add something to that.
Well, we need to always keep in view that the nature of man is such that a man is at peace if there is security. A lot of times, governance in Nigeria have defined security from the angle of buying arms or force, maybe because of our military experiences. The reality of the situation is that economic security is a real fundamental issue. Security of life and properties. That I am assured that where I live, my children can go to school and come back decently, will give me a certain security whereby I begin to think about the nation in a positive sense. Now, we have lacked all of this. All of the comments my co-panelists here mentioned defines what we are saying. These are words. I'm trying to bring it down to reality. Are you sure that you're guaranteed that this job you're doing, that you're being paid for, can give you a life that is worth living? Are you sure that you can enter your car and drive to where you're going to and come back safely? Now, once these fundamental issues are not addressed, it goes back to the original way man thinks. The id stage, the superego stage of human existence, is what is playing out. So if people are responding to it, I am surprised that anybody is surprised about what is happening.
Pastor Ladi, for some, the whole crux of the matter, the beginning and the end of it all, is our constitution, which tells a lie of itself. We, the people of Nigeria. And some are saying, we, the people of Nigeria, did not sit down and agree all these things in the constitution. So let's start from there. Let's adjust this book, which is the ground norm that defines how we live together as one in this nation. What would you say to such people?
Well, again, I think we want to be very realistic.
Yes, let's be practical.
In most nations, you form a state based on the fact that certain needs to be met. There needs to be a cooperation.
Yes.
There needs to be an assurance of security from external aggression and from internal disorder. And that's the reason why states are put together.
Yes.
Now, the truth is this. Nigeria's history was never like that. We were put together as a colonial convenience. We were coming out of slavery, human slavery, and from there we moved into colonialism. And what colonialism did for us was to diplomatically create a problem for our future. So I want
which is where we are at now. That future has come.
Now, the future is here now. So I want us to be as pragmatic as possible, because a constitution, no matter how verbose it is, the American Constitution, if I remember how many words it is, it's not very long. The Nigerian Constitution, I think, is 70-something thousand words or so, or thereabouts. A constitution is not worth the paper it is written on if it doesn't have a foundation. Now, the challenge we have here is that we are yet to agree that Nigeria had liberating fathers. But they themselves, if you listen to the speeches of Zik, you listen to the speeches of Tafawa Balewa, especially his address at the United Nations on the 7th of October 1960, you'll find out that including Obafemi Awolowo realized that they were prevented from laying a foundation for a nation. And what prevented them, if you look at a lot of their notes, they laid it down that they hoped that in the future, Nigeria would find real founding fathers who will come and do this job. And this is where, again, I want to come to the Southwest, because I think the Southwest is the solution to Nigeria's problem right now. And if you look at me and say to me, Pastor Ladi, why would you say a thing like that? I don't want political correctness. I want us to have a future. In the Southwest, our civilization has always been based on value to human worth. The Omoluabi ethos. We value life. Once we get to a place where you no longer value life, we are watching you.
That's actually human nature.
Our civilization is more than 1,600 years old. I'm not one of the people who has an inferiority complex. I thank God I'm African. Although in the 7th, 8th century triggered something By the 15th century, it had peaked. When Frobenius came to Ile-Ife in 1910, he picked artifacts that were taken to Europe, and when they carried out their tests, they agreed we were ahead of them, at least pre-Renaissance Europe. Awolowo was 10 golden years. Obafemi Awolowo, what they call the 10 golden years, created a western region that is the equivalent of what Dubai is today. Now, what did Awolowo do? What Awolowo did was that he studied Oduduwa's program, and he gave it an analog upgrade by introducing telephony, modern roads, education, and things like that. Now, our people have been a part of the Nigerian, togetherness, and we have all sacrificed a lot. But when we begin to get to a place where the very foundation of what defines us as a cultural nation begins to be challenged, Nigeria has to be very careful. Because I think the way forward, interestingly, for me, when a lot of people are talking right now about the Oodua Republic and IPOB and all that cries that have been around, I don't necessarily agree that that is the way to go right now. And I will tell you why. If you look at what the war against terror has done, it's infiltrated us. We have entered the fourth phase. They have anticipated this breaking. In fact, because of the fact that people are being killed, blood is being shed, by 2017, 2018, we started having meetings with elders, both Igbo and Yoruba elders. And I remember we had sent a team to London to go and check the classified colonial documents. And one of the things we were able to prove to people like Professor Banji Akitoye, I remember having a meeting with him 2017 or 2018 with Pa Adebanjo, as well as with people like Ebitu Kiwe and Izefe and the full works, under the captaincy of Dr. Christopher Kolade and Professor Aya. And we showed everybody
and this will be also
that in the beginning, Igbos and Yorubas never had any problem with one another. Those Efik Hausas and Igbos never had any problem. The problem was engineered by people who had more sense than us. The divisions were engineered, and we showed them that it's a programming. And this is what they have that we don't have. We are programmed to fight one another. The Igbos are programmed to call for Biafra. We are programmed. We can't be looking for the future in the past.
So, Bishop.
Yes.
This is it's like it would seem like everybody who is thinking right, so to speak, would say it's perhaps repeat what General Gowon said many years ago. Trying to keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. Just very recently, Obasanjo, Tinubu, even the vice president are all saying all this idea of breaking away, we don't want to hear it. I also remember, I think the Igbo Nation as well, forgot the name of the group now, under Chief Nwodo, also said the same thing.
Ohaneze indeed.
Thank you very much.
You're really finding it difficult to...
No, he just skipped my mind. At least I remember his name. I remember the name. It's not a name that I forget.
No, please go ahead.
My apologies
Don't make that
about that.
mistake
It's not. Well, maybe because I'm not wearing my Obiago today. But everyone, even the Northerners on, was it on Friday? Or Thursday last week, in Thursday in the course of this week, we also had a Northerner who was also saying, look, all these idea of breaking away shouldn't even be sung anywhere in the North, much less in any part of the country as well. So, talking from these angles and all of these people talking about this, where should the leadership come from as concerning a just Nigeria? We have that logo under the shield: unity and faith, peace and progress. But it would seem like those are the exact things we don't have.
I think I want to quote Bible.
After all, you're a bishop.
Psalm 133 has 3 verses. Verse 1, how beautiful it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Forget verse 2, jump to verse 3. He says, for there God commanded thee blessings. It is in the place of unity that blessings begin to flow. Now, the fundamental error remains that we mouth our need for unity. We pretend, I like what he said. Say, I don't want to be politically correct. I don't believe in political correctness. I'm an Igbo man. Anybody can do anything about it. I'm not negotiating my Igbo-ness. I carry my Bible anywhere. I got my green passport. I don't feel inferior to anybody. But the fact is, let those who have been opportune to come to a place of leadership believe in this unity. Because their behavior does not suggest they believe in it.
And who are you referring? What class of people
Leadership, any you want to look at it. Listen, the people who are agitating or projecting secessionist tendencies, why? What are you asking for? Okay, why can't we bring every person together and say, okay, my friend, what is this you're saying? Explain it to us. What exactly is it you don't have that you think you should have? Let's put it on the table and discuss. Can I tell you? Are you aware that in the United Kingdom, some of the parts that make up the kingdom are asking for freedom to live? Even in America. Are you aware that California and Texas are saying we don't want to be part of the United States anymore? But it's a conversation that is ongoing. It's only our own that we start boxing and, you know, somebody said that ETC means the end of thinking capacity. When thinking capacity ends, we resort to violence.
Pardon me.
I'm therefore saying, let's have conversations. Let's talk.
But we did. We did.
Let me ask,
and the results were jettisoned.
You
had a
asked
conference.
You had a question. You asked the question the other time of Pastor Laya. Now, I want to post it to Bishop. She mentioned the Constitution, and that perhaps that's also the basis of that conversation that we had in 2014, and even previously in 2005, saying that the Constitution is they the people, not we the people. Do you think it is a place actually where we should begin to have conversations, or do you think what we have, the provisions we have, are even significant to start anything?
Again, I'm agreeing with my here. The issue is not the Constitution, in my view. You know why I think so? How many aspects of the Constitution of Nigeria are we jettisoning, even in leadership today? It's not the document that's the problem. The problem is the will of man. The problem is man's will to adopt the provisions. Typical example. A lot of people are complaining about appointments. Can we be plain? Let's talk plainly. The Constitution makes provisions for, federal character, isn't it? Now, those who are implementing Constitution today, are they obeying the spirit and the letters of the Constitution? You understand what I'm saying? Now, it will be unfair to expect me not to have a feeling of dissatisfaction. Now, if I'm expressing dissatisfaction, what do I expect you to do? Call me and say, this is what I'm seeing. I believe that this is the way I should go. Then you should be telling me, no, don't go that way. Then there can be a conversation. My problem with Nigeria is that we don't talk to each other.
But
what about those conferences which we held? I mean, maybe the results didn't come to much, but we had those conversations.
Did we agree? What is the purpose of a conversation? Should there not be a meeting of the minds? Where did the minds meet? What was the result of the meeting of the minds, as a result of which we can go further from where we are?
The minds met. They had conversations.
So where's the result?
They had results. They had papers produced.
Have you seen anyone being discussed further?
Perhaps that is the
or
issue.
Implemented?
Perhaps that is the issue now. So now we have a an ongoing conversation, so to speak. It's the National Assembly. Every nook and cranny of the country is represented there within that National Assembly. 109 senators, more than 300 members of the House of Representatives. Those are always there. Do you see any role for them towards a just Nigeria?
If we want to be honest with ourselves, we are talking about a just Nigeria. How much of a just Nigeria can I expect when a proposal to the effect of a Southeast Development Commission for months have been under consideration and nothing came out of it. But a Northeast Development Commission came up in the same National Assembly and it was passed into law in less than a month. These are facts. I am not, to the best admission, I am an honest person. I'm a preacher. Preacher of righteousness and verity. We walk by the truth. Let's just say what the truth is. The truth is that we project a desire for unity, a desire for peace. But in real behavior, I don't. It's non-existent.
Okay, let's talk about
You're
it.
talking about actions.
Actions
not
that show that what
words.
you're saying is you mean it.
Okay. Now, Festus has made this comment. This government has made our country more unequal. For example, PMB has appointed 3 IGPs, all from the north. If he is sensitive to the feelings of other regions, he should have appointed the new IGP from another part of the country.
Those are some of the issues. Those are some of the issues. I sincerely do not think that it is intentional. I want to believe it's not intentional. It's more comfortable for me to believe it's not intentional. But the fact of the matter is, your intention and the people's reading of your intention are 2 different things.
But you know, that, on the one hand,
Indeed.
on the one hand, we have the politics of development. On the other hand, are the practical things that people do or should do. I remember when this government first came in, one of the things that statements attributed to the vice president was that the civil service needed some work. And the civil service is one that is supposed to maintain government in transition, but it would seem like for me, the civil service is like the engine of a vehicle. Politicians, they are like all the facade that we see, but the headlines and all those things that people see, that's the politics of it. But the engine, the internal workings, the wiring that makes the vehicle move and work and all is the civil service. Do you see that happening? Well, I'll let you answer that question when we return from this break. Do stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us. We're still talking about a just Nigeria. And I remember, well, of course, we still have a panel of guests here, but let me stay with you for a moment, Bishop. In the course of the week, I remember reading a story attributed to the governor of Ebonyi State, where he said that all of the insecurity that we're having isn't something that just happened on us recently. It is as a result of things that were not done by past leaders of many years ago to prepare the youths of that time for leadership now. Well, the question that came to my mind at the time, and I don't know if you have any answer to it, is, do you see us doing anything now to prepare the youths of today for the leadership of the future and the consequences if we don't?
Well, first of all, let me disagree with the governor. We made you a governor so that you can deal with the matter on ground. No explanation is acceptable. Now, talking about us now, Nigeria has a population of youth. I mean, a majority of our population are youth, 65%. You're talking about a population of 200 million, 65% of 200 million, you're looking at about 130 million young people. What is their future? What is the definite program we have to prepare these young people for the future? Look at our economy. While we are at that, are you aware that politics out there in the world today is driven by economic policies. Nobody's still talking about the type of things we're talking about here. The issues are broader: artificial intelligence. The issues we have in other nations, in developed nations, artificial intelligence, how you can use your economy to drive national development. But what we are battling with here are basic issues. Mundane issues. Issues that nobody thinks about abroad. Now, what I'm saying is that our situation is progressively degenerating. Because the population is growing and the projections we need to make to take care of a developing population are not in place. What is the size or the number of Nigerians that will graduate from universities this year? Does anyone have the figure? What are the jobs they are going to do when they graduate? More companies are shutting down.
Downsizing.
Downsizing.
And
Foreign direct investments are reducing. Are you aware? Therefore, things are looking bleak more and more. My answer to your question is that it is getting worse by the day.
Pastor, there will be some who will tell you that this unemployment issue is compounded by the fact that many of these young people do not want to do certain jobs. For instance, when Fashola was governor of Lagos State, we heard of a program that he had to take some of them off the streets and go and teach them some trade. Many of them ran away from these centers where they were being taught some vocational thing which they could at least use to feed themselves, if nobody else, and they ran away. So what is to be done to the psyche of the young man so that he will realize that there's no shame in being a plumber as long as you can feed yourself from it and not have to steal? There's no shame in being a bricklayer if it puts food on your table. But everybody wants to get rich overnight. Everybody wants to ride a Jeep.
For me, again, I guess the way I think is different. First and foremost, there's nothing wrong in everybody wanting to be millionaires. The only thing is, be legit. What is a good economy? A good economy is an economy that gives you the opportunity to be what you want to be within the limits of the laws that exist. I'm an Igbo man, I keep saying. I see opportunities everywhere. Why can't the nation begin to argue in terms of making Nigeria a hub, in the sense that if 10 international airlines are headed to Africa, you can be sure that Nigerians or people who have things to do in Nigeria will be about 8 of them or 7 of them. Why can't we make Nigeria a hub in international travel? Insist. This is about policy. If my people are 70% of those traveling, I am insisting that my place should be the port of destination. The same thing with shipping. How many ships leave Europe or America or Asia for Africa? How many of those ships are headed to Nigeria? Why can't the policymakers insist and say, well, this economy is a big economy. We therefore insist that Nigeria should be the first hub in shipping. Do you understand what I'm saying? All of these are opportunities that we keep losing. The policymakers are making us lose opportunities that we ought not to lose. And these opportunities will affect the opportunity, I mean, what do you call it? Job creations. So that people are busy. The Igbo man can go to the moon if you give him ladder to get there. All he needs is the ladder. Give him the ladder then. That's what I'm saying.
But you know, there's something that we began to talk about, and I think it is it's something that I'd like to ask Pastor Thompson as well about this. You know, is a national ethos. Mm-hmm. When after the Civil War, the government of the day said to keep Nigeria one, is a task that must be done. It was a very, very popular and public
Rider.
Declaration.
declaration.
Yes.
Everybody literally keyed into it.
Bought into it.
Everybody followed that path. Everybody talked about it. And I remember during the 2019 elections, one of the things, it was a question around the leadership recruitment process in the country. So, Pastor Thompson, if we're going to talk about, in terms of using national ethos for development, do you see us playing that role well enough? Do you see what because unless we're able to carry people along, unless we're able to give people a sense of belonging, there isn't anything to believe in. So in terms of carrying people along, how do you think we can begin that conversation? He talked about 65% of Nigerians today being young people. And if you do a nationality test or nationalism test now, I don't know if many people, many of the youths will be seeing things the way we are seeing them now. So in terms of carrying the young people along, for the sake of the future, what do you see us doing?
Let's quickly answer that again. It's something we've settled many times on air. By deliberate design, there's a process that produces a Nigerian. There's an enculturation program that produces an Igbo man. There's an enculturation program that produces a Hausa man. There's an enculturation program that produces a, quote, Yoruba man. Now, as long as you design the enculturation program for the cultural nations to be more beneficial than the program that produces a Nigerian, you will never have a nation full of patriots. Now, we can learn a lesson from the United States of America. And I made this claim earlier on. I said the answers to this is in the Southwest. And I want to establish this clearly. Of the first 5 presidents in America, 4 of them came from Virginia. The first 5. Why? It was actually the Virginians who developed the program that helped America to develop. But nobody would say that, oh, because it's Virginians, therefore we couldn't take it. They persuaded the 13 colonies. What I'm bringing out is this. In 1980, let's solve these problems practically. Again, I go to Professor C. Otai, who was launching a book on education in Nigeria. And one of the quotes in the book said that as of 1906, the gap between northern Nigeria and southern Nigeria was 50 years in education. By 1980, it had gone to 75 years. And by projection, by 1990, it will go to 100 years. And the comment was that the moment that gap exceeds 100 years, the results will be too gruesome. Now, that was even reckoning without this global terrorism war. So at this point in time, I'm insisting that if we really want to get these things right, what the Virginians did is what the Southwest needs to do. And right now, when I listen to people talking, I'm still yet to find anybody who thought as well in the Southwest as Obafemi Awolowo's architecture of thought. In 1952, July 16th, he said something. He said, we must make this our aim now. He said, we must aim to create a totally new nation. A new nation that is more noble in concept. A new nation that is more artistic in design. That is, in bringing together all the groups to contribute their best, more imposing in structure and extent than anything that has entered the mind of anybody before. What he said in 1952 is more applicable today. If we don't want Nigeria to disintegrate, all this English we are speaking, all this whatever, patching here, patching there, listen, let's stop finger pointing and go back to what he said. We need to create a new nation.
Well, you said something earlier, and I think it is also, important for us to give a little attention to that. How do we re-engineer the different ethnic nationalities to begin to think Nigerian as opposed to thinking Igbo, thinking Yoruba, thinking Hausa?
Again, it has become a lot simpler for us. And that's why I insist that the Southwest holds the key to this. When Awolowo put an analog upgrade on what Oduduwa did, all we need to do today is to bring a digital upgrade. In a digital upgrade, it means that when I was looking at telephony and things like that, we are looking at artificial intelligence. We're looking at deep learning, nanotechnology, quantum computing. Do you know that today we can hold a proper conference for an accord that will cost 5% or whatever it is that has ever been done? The 2014 was interesting, but don't forget that the age gap there was remarkable. And that even if you go with the 2014 right now, a younger generation is going to tell you guys that, look, you are moribund. Yes. So I believe that what we need to do again is to bring a digital upgrade to what Awolowo did online. We can sit down and hold all these talks. Everybody can participate. We can establish what is right and condense the documents. It won't cost us $500 million. It won't even cost 200 million.
Well, Bishop, agreeing to go with one ethnic nationality, so to speak, will be a hard sell for all the nationalities in Nigeria, don't you think?
It will be, but there is nothing as good as a good idea. If what you're bringing to the table will help every person pursue their definition of satisfaction, why will it not be acceptable? The problem is when there's nothing on the table, and you're asking me to keep following. Am I making any sense? There's nothing on the table.
What we have in common with the Igbos, the Igbo nation and the Odua Morabi nation, have a lot more in common than what we have that makes us differ. In fact, when we look back, I told you, we were talking earlier on, I mentioned Oladoa Ikiano, who wrote a book in 1789, the first bestseller.
Igbo slave.
Igbo slave who was captured in Iseke. And I said, you see, we have a saying, a people who are robbed of their history will settle for any future. If anybody goes to study that book written by that Igbo slave who got his freedom, and you look at the details of Igbo life, you look at the morals, in fact, let me tell you one truth, the engineering of our colonial masters on the Igbos suffered the most.
Of course.
Because if you look at the leadership skills, you look at what the enculturation program that is written in that book, and you look at what the Igbos have today, you'll know that somebody somewhere has done something to the Igbos.
But, Pastor Thompson, the first, what's it called now, capital of the country,
yes,
was in what was then known as the southeastern region. So we can say then that international trade into Nigeria started from the southeast. So how then would you say that the southeast was so much more disenfranchised when the national capital at the time was in what was then known as the southeast?
All we need to do, don't rely on the BDP, which is the British official documents for the construction of the empire. What Nigeria needs to do is to send its own people to the former colonial office, the new CO, whatever it's called in the UK right now. Go and bring stamped secret all the documents by which Nigeria was designed. All these details are there. All the enmities that we have, when you make a people struggle for the same resource, there's a way you can advantage one side. Even the northern Nigeria, southern Nigeria divide was accentuated by British engineering.
Yes.
They did the same to the American colonies.
Okay.
And if the American colonies could have written a new program, look, in the House, I remember after the first constitutional conference, somebody said, was it Thomas Henry or one of their patriots said, we are Virginians no more, Americans we are now. You know why? If every child born in Nigeria is entitled to a certain sum, entitled to free milk, entitled to free medical health care, and certain things because you are Nigerian.
And life is moving.
And your perks as being a Nigerian exceeds that of being an Igbo man.
Yes.
It exceeds that of being a Yoruba man. It will take only 1 decade. Don't be fooled. Humans are always humans. Unless.
But
can I also point this out?
Yes.
There is no nation in Europe where one tribe lords it over another one. Are you aware? How big is Netherlands? How big is Ireland? Ireland. How big is Sweden?
So, Bishop, how do you take the first step?
The first step is leadership. You know, a lot.
As we begin to wind down.
Yes, leadership is crucial because it's leadership that will provide a ground norm that will get us talking. Like these things we are doing, take it as a town hall meeting. Hey, we have been in this thing for such a long time. We need to begin to talk. Can I tell you the truth? I'm an Igbo man, but sincerely speaking, I prefer Nigeria to remain one. If those who have power will allow it to be so.
Again, so many people have held that position until now. Incidentally, we hoped to have Ambassador Hassan Adotuko, who is a former APC chairman in Taraba State, but unfortunately, we were unable to have him. Well, maybe the fasting took a little more toll than we expected, but hopefully we'll be able to get him some other time. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Temi has a very interesting comment here. Who is this woman on Channels TV? Did you become a plumber or bricklayer before you got to where you are now? Or would you wish your kids that? You are one of the problems of this country.
Jesus Christ.
The younger generation?
See?
That's me.
So,
We can't all be professors. We can't all be TV broadcasters. There have to be plumbers in society. There have to be bricklayers. Who would do the plumbing in your house, Madam Temi? Who would do the bricklaying to build your house in Banana Island if there were no bricklayers?
you know,
The balance.
I said the other time that we needed to find a way to carry the young
Exactly.
along. If we do not, we're working on tethers, wouldn't you say?
But I provided the answer. The answer to this is simple, and that is that we can educate Nigerians to know that there's dignity in labor, that it doesn't matter what you do. I met a guy in America, and I say, hey, your business is good. Let's turn it into a multi-million-dollar project. He said, I don't want that. My joy is doing what I got to do. It pays my bills. But Nigeria is a place where your chosen profession is not given the pride of place it desires. I think that's the answer to that.
Okay. Well, it's your call right now.
Yes, so we need to call it a day on this topic. Thank you very much for coming, Bishop and Pastor, even though somebody says that pastors are the problems in this country because they're teaching the people prosperity, and they're the ones that have caused this get-rich-quick syndrome. But that's a topic for another day.
Let's leave it at that.
Yes, let's leave it at that. Bishop Oscar Osai, Bishop the City of Refuge Ministries, as well as Pastor Laddie Thompson, who is a security consultant. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
God bless you.
Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation in just a moment. Do stay with us.